Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at self-driving cars.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, and specifically we're going to be looking at General Motors and a pretty big change they've made in their strategy.
Okay.
We found this really interesting article by The Motley Fool.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
Yeah, they're a pretty well-known financial services company that kind of helps make investing accessible to more people.
Yeah.
And so their article really got us thinking
Okay.
about this change that General Motors has made to move away from robotaxis
Interesting.
and really double down on their driver assist technology called Super Cruise.
Yeah, that's pretty wild when you think about all the buzz around
Oh,
robotaxis,
yeah.
even just like a year ago.
I know, right? It was all anyone was talking about.
Yeah, now it seems like GM is like, no, we're good.
Yeah. So let's unpack this a little bit. What exactly happened here?
So the Motley Fool article pointed out that late last year in 2024, GM decided to stop funding robotaxi development.
Within their cruise business.
Right? Like they had this whole cruise division focused on robotaxis.
Right.
And then they just kind of pulled the plug. And so I think like one of the key things to remember here is that developing robotaxis is not just about the technology.
Right. It's about so much more.
It is. It's way more complex than just building a car that can drive itself.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with tons of regulations.
Oh, yeah.
And public perception is a huge factor. Like, are people actually going to trust these things to drive them around?
Right. Are they ready for that?
Exactly. And then on top of all that, you've got this massive task of building the infrastructure to support like a whole fleet of autonomous vehicles.
It's a huge undertaking.
It's huge. It's a massive undertaking, and the competition in that space is fierce.
Yeah. So is GM just like waving the white flag in the robotaxi race?
I don't think so. I think it might be a bit more strategic than that.
Okay.
They might be recognizing that, like, instead of just chucking tons more money at something that's like a super long shot,
Yeah.
they can focus on an area where they see a much clearer path to actually making money.
And that path leads to Super Cruise.
Bingo.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about Super Cruise. Like, what is it and why are they so excited about it?
So Super Cruise is their advanced driver assist system.
Okay.
And the cool thing is it's already out there on the road.
Like, people are using it right now.
Yeah, and they're actually making money from it.
Yeah. The Motley Fool article mentioned something like 20% of people who tried it out,
Who did the free trial.
yeah, decided to actually pay for it,
Yeah,
even after the free trial ended.
which is impressive.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good sign.
It is a good sign. It tells you that people see value in it.
So what do you think is driving that adoption rate?
That's a really good question. I think there are a couple of things at play here.
Okay.
So first of all, I think it shows that there are a decent number of drivers out there who are like early adopters. They're excited to try out new tech, and they're willing to shell out some cash for features that make their lives easier.
Yeah. Like, convenience is a big factor.
It's huge. But I think it also suggests that even at what we call level 2 autonomy,
Okay.
which means the driver still needs to be paying attention.
Right. Still in control.
Yeah. Even at that level, people are finding real value in the convenience and safety features that Super Cruise offers.
Okay.
Like, think about those long drives or when you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
It takes some of the stress out of those situations.
Makes it a little more enjoyable.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, that peace of mind, that ease of driving is worth paying for.
Right. So even though it's not fully taking over the driving,
Right.
it's giving people enough benefit.
Exactly. It's hitting that sweet spot
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, this is actually useful.
This is worth it.
This is making my life better.
So GM is basically betting big on this.
Oh, yeah. They're projecting that Super Cruise revenue will double in 2025.
Wow.
And that it'll hit almost $2 billion annually within 5 years.
Okay. So $2 billion. That's a lot of money, even for a company like GM.
It is a lot of money. But here's why it's especially important.
Okay.
You have to understand that the traditional car business operates on really thin profit margins.
Okay. Now, I'm not a financial expert, so
Sure.
break that down for me. Why are profit margins so important in this context?
So basically, profit margin is the percentage of revenue that a company actually keeps after they've paid all their costs.
Okay.
So a higher profit margin basically means more money in their pocket for every dollar of sales that they make.
Got it.
And in the car industry, those margins are traditionally super thin
Okay.
because there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
And the cost of actually making cars is really high.
Right.
So for GM, finding ways to generate revenue with higher profit margins is crucial.
So this is like their golden goose?
Kind of. It's like a way to boost their profitability without having to sell a ton more cars.
So even though $2 billion might seem small compared to like their total revenue,
Right.
those Super Cruise dollars are like super valuable.
Exactly. They pack a punch.
Yeah.
And GM knows this. And they're not just sitting back and like collecting subscription fees either.
Right. They're not just like, all right, we're done. Let's just rake it in.
No, they're constantly working to make Super Cruise even better.
Yeah. The Motley Fool article talked about how Mary Barra, their CEO, is really focused on making Super Cruise like indispensable for drivers.
Yeah, like you can't live without it.
So how are they doing that?
They're taking what they call a customer-centric approach.
Okay.
Which is really smart. Basically, they're laser-focused on constantly refining and expanding Super Cruise's capabilities.
Okay. So like adding more roads where it can be used.
Exactly. Making sure it performs well in all kinds of weather conditions.
Yeah.
And even adding new features like automatic lane changes.
Yep.
Like they just keep making it better and better.
So basically they want you to feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
If you don't have Super Cruise.
Exactly. Like it's the gotta have it driving feature.
Okay. So they're trying to create that same kind of feeling that you get with like the latest smartphone or a streaming service that you just can't live without.
Totally. It's all about making it so good that you feel like you're missing out if you don't have it.
Okay. So they're making it better and better. But isn't there a risk that driver assist technology could become?
Like totally commonplace.
Yeah. Like what if it just becomes standard in every car and then people aren't willing to pay extra for it anymore?
That's the race against time that they're facing, right? Like think about it. Features that used to be considered like luxury add-ons, like a premium sound system or navigation, those are pretty much standard in cars now. So GM's trying to capitalize on this window of opportunity while Super Cruise is still something special.
While it's a differentiator.
Exactly.
Okay. But where does Super Cruise fit in with like the whole spectrum of self-driving capabilities?
Right.
Like I know there are different levels of autonomy.
Yeah.
Where does Super Cruise fall?
So right now, Super Cruise is classified as a level 2 system.
Okay. Level 2. So remind me what that means like in practice.
Okay. So it's basically like having a super advanced cruise control.
Okay.
Like, you know those times when you're on the highway and it's just miles and miles of straight road?
Yeah.
Level 2 can handle the steering, the acceleration, and the braking in those situations.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of the work off the driver.
But you still have to be paying attention.
Oh, absolutely. In a level 2 system, the driver is still ultimately responsible.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to take control at any moment.
So it's not full autonomy.
Not yet. But GM is already looking ahead to level 3.
Okay, now level 3 sounds interesting.
It is.
What's the difference between level 2 and level 3?
So with level 3, things start to change pretty dramatically. Instead of just assisting the driver, the car can actually handle most of the driving tasks in certain situations.
Okay.
And you can actually take your attention away from driving.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam on the highway.
Yep.
With level 3, the car could handle all the stop and go stuff, keeping you in your lane.
Yeah.
A safe distance from other cars. And you could actually catch up on emails, listen to a podcast, or even watch a show. Legally, because the car is basically doing the thinking for you in that specific scenario.
So it's like having a chauffeur for those situations.
Exactly. It's a total game changer.
Yeah.
And that's where the real money-making potential comes in for GM.
Okay.
If they can really nail level 3 autonomy and beyond, they're not just selling you a car anymore. They're selling you back time and freedom.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
So are there other companies making big moves in the level 3 space?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's becoming a major battleground in the car industry.
Okay.
Like Mercedes-Benz, for example.
Yeah.
They've already launched a level 3 system called Drive Pilot in some parts of the world.
Okay.
And other companies like Audi and BMW are not far behind.
So it sounds like GM's got some serious competition.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But their decision to pull back from robotaxis could actually give them an advantage here.
Okay. How so?
Well, remember, developing these higher levels of autonomy takes a ton of investment in research and development, testing, validation.
Right.
By focusing all their resources on Super Cruise and getting to level 3, they're streamlining their efforts and potentially speeding up their progress.
Okay, so it's like they're putting all their eggs in one basket.
In a way, yeah. It's about focusing on what they believe is their best chance for success in the self-driving world.
Makes sense. But it still sounds like a massive undertaking.
It is
to achieve level 3 safely and reliably.
Huge.
Like, how do you even begin to teach a car to think like a human driver?
You're hitting on the biggest challenge right there.
Yeah.
It's not just about adding more sensors and cameras to the car. It's about developing these really sophisticated algorithms and artificial intelligence systems that can actually understand the driving environment, make decisions based on what's happening around them, and react to unexpected things just like a human driver would.
Right.
It's a super complex problem, and they're still figuring it all out.
So GM's engineers have their work cut out for them.
For sure. But the potential payoff is huge.
Yeah. I mean, if they can pull it off,
right,
it's going to be a game changer.
Exactly. And all this isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right.
This shift to Super Cruise is part of a bigger transformation that's happening at GM.
Okay.
They're making a lot of smart moves to prepare for the future.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, they're launching a bunch of new electric vehicles.
Okay.
Like the all-electric Silverado pickup truck.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
And the Blazer EV, which are tapping into this growing demand for EVs.
Right. Everyone wants an electric car these days.
It seems like it. And they're expanding into key markets like China.
Okay.
Where EV adoption is just exploding.
Yeah.
But they're also not afraid to cut their losses. Like the decision to pull back from Robotaxis is a perfect example. They're being strategic and decisive. Yeah. Which is super important in an industry that's changing so quickly.
So they're like adapting to the changing landscape.
Exactly.
It's like they're getting rid of the stuff that's not working and focusing on the things that have potential.
Yeah, exactly. They're really good at adapting and trying to stay ahead of everyone else.
It's like surfing.
Kind of.
You got to be able to read the waves and adjust so you don't wipe out.
Right. Got to stay on top of things.
I like that analogy.
It works.
But thinking about GM strategy has got me thinking about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does this all mean for driving in the future?
That's the big question.
Are we all going to be in robotaxis someday? Or is this focus on driver assist features a sign that people still want to drive?
I think what we're seeing now is like a transition phase. Right. Like we're on this journey to more autonomous vehicles, but it's not a straight line to get there. Features like Super Cruise are kind of bridging the gap.
Between now and the future.
Yeah, between where we are now with human drivers still in control and that future vision of cars that can completely drive themselves.
And nobody knows for sure which way it'll go.
Nope, it's anyone's guess.
So it's not like one or the other.
It might not be.
Like maybe both will exist together.
It's possible.
Driver assist getting more and more advanced.
Yeah.
And eventually becoming like higher levels of autonomy.
Right, like a gradual shift.
Or maybe there'll be like specific situations for each one.
Yeah.
Like robotaxis in cities. And driver assist for longer trips.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the tech itself, but how people use it and how it fits into their lives.
You got it. Consumer preferences are going to be huge in shaping what happens.
Yeah. Like if people really love stuff like Super Cruise, that could speed up the whole thing.
Exactly. And lead to even fancier systems down the road.
But if people still want to be behind the wheel, maybe those fully autonomous cars will stay a niche thing for longer.
It's totally possible.
I'm kind of crazy to think about all the possibilities. The next few years are going to be wild.
It's an exciting time to be following all this stuff.
Well, this has been awesome. Thanks for explaining all this.
No problem. It's fun to talk about.
And to everyone listening.
Yeah.
We want to hear what you think.
Yeah. What are your predictions?
Are you Team Robotaxi or Team Driver Assist?
Hit us up on social media.
Let us know what you think the future of driving looks like.
Until next time.
Keep those wheels turning.